Hello, how's everybody? This one is this video is about music. Okay. Um, I wanted to stress that how important it is to really think about the things that you're doing when you when you're doing your vocals. There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't realize is the fact that every pitch is very important. I mean, a pitch. I mean, okay, I'm not going to say pitch, but every note that you sing is very important. I haven't got to exactly what I want to term as a pitch. I don't. There was a time when I always tried to figure out, like, what do they mean by this and what do they mean by that? But when you study your vocals, it's something that is so personal that you have to get a vocabulary first. What I mean by vocabulary is you have to have experience with yourself, experience studying with what you use when you sing. And there is nothing that can accommodate that physically. A piano can't, a book cannot, but you can relate to the book. You can relate to what everybody else uses. But when you try and make something, like for instance, okay, when they tell you to do scales, and you do them while you're, when you do them with a vocal coach, you have to know that you're doing the piano, okay? You're listening to the piano, and it has nothing really to do with your study of your own vocals, because you have to, it's not even imagine, you have to know what things take place when you actually sing. And what happened to me last week was, and I stressed it in my other videos with Dance Without Music, I mean this topic as far as Dance Without, it was in Dance Without Music and American Yoga. Now it's like when you come to a point to where you learn something and you want to sing, but you're learning something. So if you're learning something in yourself and you want to sing, those two things are separate. Because like last week when I was doing my videos, my music videos, I noticed something. I didn't have the control. I didn't have the regular control that I had at all. And I was wondering what was going on, but I had to put those videos up, and I felt really bad that I didn't do as well. But the thing about it is that, I mean, not that I did like terrible, but I always wanted to progress, and I had progressed. But the problem was that I was studying, and then after you study the vocals, and you do it separately on your own, because I did it separately on my own. I didn't, not that I didn't realize that, I knew that something was wrong. I just had to figure it out. And what happened was that something like in my other videos, it's like your body goes through a conditioning, or it goes through a transition, I can say. And because I had studied so much, because I study all the time, but I was studying vocals, there comes a time when it readjusts everything. And everything was being readjusted. But the thing about it is it takes time to readjust. And I did this session anyway last week, and I felt so bad. But it did come out, but just didn't come out the way I figured it did. And there was one point to where I thought, oh, maybe it's the coffee that I was drinking, because I usually bring my own coffee, but I didn't bring my own coffee, and I drank their coffee. And I was thinking, I said no, because I have experience with that. I know it's not that. And a lot of singers go that route, and they go, oh, it's because of this, oh, it's because of that, oh, it's because of that. But you really have to think about your practicing. And sometimes after you practice, your body, everything has to go through a transition. I'm not kidding. I mean, not just your vocals, but your whole body goes through a transition. So what I'm trying to say is, sometimes when you try and put out, you have to figure out what happened, what's going on. And I had to wait, and I had to not sing, and I had to let nature take its course. I guess that's what I want to say. And I did do better, but I had to wait, and I had to find out. And it also comes to a little bit of depression. It's not a depression. I don't know what word I can use for it, but it's like when you lose everything. You lose everything that you used before, and then all of a sudden you have to wait, and you have to see what new things are. So I had to go through that, and then I had to figure out, well, what is it that I captured this time, because I studied like constantly. And then I figured it out. And you have to be very patient with yourself. I had to be very patient with myself. And then I figured out that I was at a different level. So what I'm trying to say in this video is that when you do vocals, it's different from any other different than any other instrument, and the fact that you have to understand what you're doing and what you have done, and then what you're going through. I can't understand, and I can't explain how it would be if I was working in doing a song or whatever. I mean, and making money off of it. Because I stressed that before, is a lot of times when you're a musician, as far as a vocal is concerned, you have to make a decision whether you want to continue the project as far as being a musician, or if you want to stop and just, make money, which is very important. But when you just stop and make money, like if I was just making money, I would have to deal with what I had and not, how can I say, not really listen to myself. It would just have been drastic. That's why I can't really go to the point where what you would do if you were already in a position to where you had to put something out and you had to not listen to yourself and wait for what was happening to your musical system. So this one is pretty much for those who are really interested in continually studying their vocals without like stopping and making money off of it or whatever. The only position that would be best is if you're in a position to where you have a contract and you're actually making money off of it. Then you could, I don't know if you'll be able to say, okay, wait, stop everything because now I'm processing information, which is a very serious situation, which is a sad situation. But I'm actually talking to those people who want to continue to wait until they are actually ready, So, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it is such a sensitive situation when you're doing vocals and you come to a point to where you're learning things. You have to, now I'm at a point to where I know what's going on, but there's some times that you're going to have to just stop and not do anything and wait until, as we say in American yoga, dancehall music, wait until your body is conditioned. Because a lot of vocalists also don't understand that when you study vocals, you also affect your whole body, because everything is connected with each other. And sometimes you're studying vocals and everything stops. You have to stop too, and you have to see what's going on. Once you get to a point to where you know your exercises, you know how your body is affected, then it's a better condition, because you know what you're, and then you know that, okay, I'm in a slump. This is not a depression. It's not a depression, but I just did all of this information. I have to drop these old things that I've been doing, and look at what's new. And it's really a serious condition. Because like last week, what happened to me, if I didn't realize that, um, wait, I've been studying. I mean, everything's going along just perfectly. And now I'm in a slump. I mean, I have to wait and see what's new. And when you have things new, it's not going to happen automatically. You have to figure out what's new. Each thing that you worked on, you have to see what's new. Sometimes it's just something physical that it affected your body. And it's something good. It's usually something very good. But if you don't capture the things, the way your body changes when you're studying vocals, then it's a sad situation, because you're going through a real depression then. But there's two different kinds. A lot of people use depression so many times. I wish they had other words for it, and I'm gonna try and work on that, because like I went through a depression, but it wasn't really a depression because I knew what was happening. But it was like a, how can I say? It was like a withdrawing of everything that I believed in, because you dump out everything and you have to start all back over again each time. I said it before, but it's the only way. The only people who can see how sensitive it is if you're a vocalist. And I also wanted to state that there comes a time to where your vocal coach is just helping you. You see that your vocal coach is just helping you. And my last vocal coach, not my last vocal coach, but like before my last vocal coach, I had a vocal coach before the last one I had, and this person told me, did you know that you can practice on your own, you know? And I didn't know it, but then I found a way after my last vocal coach. And a lot of times people don't realize that in vocals, there's a whole instrument. Just like you practice, just like you practice, like people practice the piano, they practice the saxophone and everything. You have to be able to practice your vocals alone, okay? Some kind of way alone, to where they can progress, because there's changes. You can't get the changes by practice by piano, okay? The piano does pitches and they do notes, but if you look inside the piano, look at what happens before one note happens. Well, as a vocalist, you have to worry about what happens before you hit the pitch. You have to prep for every pitch. You have to know, you have to find out how these, and I don't want to say pitches yet, how these sounds happen, how you set up the sounds. And this is just something, but you're going in the right direction. So when you get to a point, which is a beautiful point, to where you can start practicing with your vocals, with just your vocals, okay? Without a vocal coach. And these are for people who are really serious about studying classical vocalists. And I've studied how vocalists in the past studied and they pretty much did things on their own. And it's a big responsibility. And there's been times when I studied vocals when I didn't study at all the vocals at all. I studied other things. Another thing I want to say is songs. You just can't study one song. The number one thing in vocals is being able to sing different songs, not just one song. Each song can teach you different things. And you have to be able to do songs from beginning to end. So a lot of times it's not going to help you to do scales. You could do scales until you're blue in the face. But it's really about doing the songs. Actually, scales are pretty much after you have learned maybe 100 songs or a lot of songs. If you have gone through a lot of songs, then you can get into scales. But scales you have to do naturally. You have to understand how scales work naturally, not as far as on a piano. So it's really serious, and it's really a complex, it's a real complex job, I would say, to handle all this information, but it takes time. And I come from a time to where a lot of vocal coaches told me, and I still believe it, in the fact that it takes a lot of time as far as being a classical vocalist. Now, another thing about the singers, which is very beautiful too, the singers of the 60s and 70s, they did the same job, but they weren't doing it for their vocals, they were doing it for songs. And that's another beautiful thing, is that they perfected certain songs, which is not as complicated. So if you just want to be a singer, that's good too. Then you have to study songs. Okay, when you study songs, that would be considered to be a singer as far as I'm concerned, and that's just as great. But that means you have to master your songs. Don't say that you're mastering vocals. You have to say you're mastering songs, which is just as great. And then you will have a technique with your songs that you sing, or certain songs that you sing, because you're grabbing things that's in a certain realm, but you don't want, in a classical vocalist, you want the whole realm. In songs or technique or style, you just want things from that style. And the most important thing would be to do that style. And I wouldn't go outside the style, because it can be perfected. Because I learned a lot from people who did songs from the 60s and 70s, and they perfected these things. And I've learned that a lot also. So this is something to show you my journey, and I hope it's other people's journey too, because you're with me on the station, to show you how serious and how sensitive becoming a classical vocalist is. I say classical vocalist by saying that it's an instrument that you have to perfect, and utilizing the items that you have within you. So I hope this helped some people, and I'm getting ready to go into recording now, and I hope everything works out. I hope it's not like last week. So see you later. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.